All right, welcome back. This is going to be part 22 of Dinosaurs and Man. At the time of this recording, it has been since July 27th, I believe, July 27th, when I posted my last video. We were ending up with Leviathan. We were talking about, does the Bible speak about dinosaurs? I mean, the word wasn't coined until sometime between 1840 and 1842 was when the word dinosaur was coined. And so it would not be in the Bible. You wouldn't have that word in the Bible. And so is there anything in the Bible, any animals in the Bible that have a description of what we would call a dinosaur? And so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about two animals in the book of Job. We got Leviathan and we got Behemoth. We went through Leviathan last time, and so if you want to go back through that one from a Facebook people, just go through the timeline and just go through my previous videos, and you'll see that, and plus the other videos, the other 21 videos that I've done on the other topics concerning dinosaurs and man. But we've got lots and lots more to go through. And so this is still just the tip of the iceberg. And so, and actually, I've been taking some time off. My wife and I, Sandra and I, have been doing some traveling in the motorhome this summer. And I wanted to go through some more material, some other books. I've bought a bunch of National Geographics from the local thrift store. And one of them, the last one that I haven't read yet, there's an article in here about a fossilized nodosaur. Now, this nodosaur, let me first, before I do that, look at the cover on this National Geographic. Why We Lie. I can tell them that. It's because we're sinners. That's why we lie. And so, but this is not a Christian publication, y'all. And so, you're going to get a secular worldview when it comes to this. And we have already talked about secular. Secular means there's no religious affiliation. And so, but this one here, let me just show you this dinosaur. And so I've already got this. It's actually, I'll be adding this into my the flood and Noah's Ark presentation. That's where I actually have this one at. And so, but you can see, look at this dinosaur, y'all. They call it, I've also had dinosaurs that are found like this referred to as mummies, dinosaur mummies, where the whole dinosaur is there and the whole thing has been preserved. But you can see the scale, the armor. You can see where the eye sockets were. They're right here. Is where the eye socket was. And so absolutely just incredible find, amazing find. And but I still got to read this article. I'm sure there's going to be some information in here that I'm going to be able to glean to put it in that presentation. But this one here, we are going to start with Behemoth. And so in Job 40:15, it says, "Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox." So now we're going to talk about that. Now, just like we did with Leviathan, we're going to go through the entire chapter of Job chapter 40. And so, and I think it's good because we can glean some information. We can glean more information. The Bible has quite a bit to say about this animal here. And we're going to go through that. And I'm going to detail some things that maybe even some of you that have heard this before, maybe you haven't heard about it in the way I'm going to present it. And so Leviathan, I did that. We detailed the scriptures. We might have rabbit trailed just a little bit, but guys, what's the hurry? What it really is the hurry? And I never could stand the classes that I was had to do where they just wanted me to give them a little 30-minute segment. My introduction is going to be 30 minutes most of the time, and so, but there's no hurry. I want people to understand this stuff as much as we can possibly understand it, because people are losing their faith on this topic here about dinosaurs. I've heard Christians tell me that they struggle in this area. They don't know how to talk to anybody about it. They don't know how to answer the critics. And so, and though I believe that the Bible does not need to be defended, we should still be able to have an answer for those that ask. And so, That's the reason why I started studying to begin with. And so, but if you notice on the screen here, you're going to see this a lot with me. You got two worldviews. You got the biblical worldview and you got the secular worldview, which is your evolutionary worldview. But it's still, there's people that can say, well, I don't believe in evolution. I just don't believe in anything. Well, still, you got a secular worldview because it's a worldview without any type of religious affiliation. But us as Christians, we have the creation or the biblical worldview, which we believe that God created everything. And so now, not getting into all the different aspects of the different layers of, because you got theistic evolution, stuff like that. That's where God, they say that God used evolution to get us here. Now, I'm not going to get into all that. My point is that we have a history book. We have a history book. We have something that tells us where we came from, where we're at, and what's going to happen in the future. We have all that in our Bible. In our Bible, we have that we can look, and we have something that can guide us in our everyday happenings, challenges, things that we go through, trials, victories. We have something, guys, that can give us peace in this most confused world that we live in today. We have that. Now, where does Job fit in to the Bible as far as the timeline? Now, it is popular believed that Job was right around the time of Abram. The time of Abram. Now, this right here that you're seeing, this picture that you're seeing, came from Adam's chronological chart. It's a big old book. It's a big old book that I have. Matter of fact, if you'll look, I'm just going to show it to you. This is it right here. This is it right here. I got this thing a long time ago. It's big. It's almost 3 feet tall. It's almost 3 feet tall. But you could open up this book. I'm not really sure. It's a giant map is what it is. It's a great big map. You can open it up and you can unfold this thing. And guys, I would probably be safe to say that this thing is probably close to 8, maybe even 9 feet long. That's just a guess on my part. I've never opened it up and took a measurement on it. But this guy really did an awesome job. And it was put into the Act of Congress. He entered according to Act of Congress in the year 1871. 1871 is when they actually entered this in. And it is very amazing. And so what he's done is he's taken the biblical timeline and he's put what in other civilizations and stuff like that, what was going on. And so it's an amazing thing. And I like to refer to it from time to time. And so during my studies. And so, but going back to the map on the screen, that's where I got this picture from. If you'll notice, and I was quite confident that he would have where Job fit into the timeline. And it is with other theologians that I've been able to glean some information from, they tend to think it was right after the flood, right around the time of Abram or Abraham. And so, but right there where that red box is, that's where they believe Job lived. Now, it's really kind of amazing, guys, when you start going into this, and I'm going to share some other aspects about when we talk about the dinosaur and certain physical traits about the dinosaur as far as into this timeline here. And we're going to talk about that. That'll be towards the end when I'm kind of finalizing it up. But whenever you look at the scriptures, at the very beginning, it tells you that Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters, right here in chapter 1, verse 2. And towards the end, at the end of this whole story, at the end of the book of Job, in chapter 42, verse 16, it says, after this, Job let's see, lived Job 140 years and saw his sons, his sons' sons, even 4 generations. And so now, just to kind of rabbit trail just a little bit, God ended up, after this whole trial that Job went through, God ended up blessing Job about double from what he had before, because all the possessions that he had, as far as his herds, the camels, the sheep, the oxen, he had double that in the end. It was double. So in the beginning, let's just say he had 7,000 sheep. In the end, he had 14,000 sheep. So everything that he had in the beginning, God doubled it in the end. But it's very interesting. If you notice, it says, after this, after what? After the things that happened to him, lived Job 140 years. Now, this right here could be a really strong clue that if you look here on this genealogy chart, this longevity chart, if you'll notice, if you go all the way down where Abraham is, all the way down, you got the flood. You got the flood, that big line that cuts through the names, and then you got Abraham. You got the Abraham right there. If you'll notice, Job is right around that, right above Abraham, just a little bit. Now, this is really interesting because it said, now remember, it said, after this, Job lived 140 years. And then he was able to see his great-great-grandkids, 4 generations. So we're talking the man had to have lived a pretty lengthy time. If you'll notice the longevity chart, these people, now remember, the world was different before the flood. The atmosphere was different. The plant life, the nutritional value they probably got into the plants and stuff that they were eating, probably sustained their body at a much greater level than we do now. But if you'll notice, right after the flood, when they had the atmospheric changes, now you're getting radiation, ultraviolet radiation into the organisms on this planet more, the lifespan starting to drop drastically. The ones that lived before the flood, they were able to cross over into the new world, and their bodies were still somewhat strong, and they would still live a lengthy period of time. But the people that were born after the flood, they did not live long, and their lifespan started dropping. You can see that. You can really see that. Well, it's interesting to note that Job, living right around that time of Abraham, or a little bit before Abraham, his lifespan was quite high. Now, this very well could be another indication showing the timeline of when Job lived. So, how old was Job when he died? I really can't say 100% how old he was. It just says after this, after he had already 7 sons and 3 daughters who were already grown as it is, they all died. And then he had 7 more sons and 3 daughters, and he was able to see his grandkids from 4 generations. So he very well could have lived upwards of 200 years old. It is very well possible, or maybe even a little more than that. But right around, let's just say 200 years. Let's just say 200 years he was living. Maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe let's just say, not in an excess of 225 or so, because that would play along the lifespan that we're dropping, though some didn't live as long as the one that lived afterwards. And so you got Nahor that lived 148 years, and then Terah lived 205 years. And so, but right around that time, let's just say 200 to 225 years. And so right around that time of Abraham is when they believed Job lived. Now, let's stop right there. I'm looking at the clock here, and I've got about 15 minutes already into this. And so, but again, chew on this stuff that I've already given you and use it to take the next step on the next video that we're going to do. But we're going to get into this. And I don't want to just jump right on into the Behemoth. Let's learn something. Let's learn something about these scriptures. But we're going to go all the way through chapter 40. And And we're going to learn about this behemoth, and what was it? What can the Bible tell us about it? And is there anything that we can look at in dinosaurs that could match up to this creature right here? And so, what were dinosaurs called before they were called dinosaurs? They had to be called something. They were living creatures. We found the fossils. Were they called dragons? Were there another special name for them? Were they called Behemoth? We don't know. There's Leviathan. Evidently, that's one of the things that, it's a gray area. We're not really sure, though we know that God did create them. And we're going to talk more about that as we go further into this chapter here. And so, but there's some really good gems and some really good nuggets that's hidden in here. And I don't want to say hidden in here, but with those with an open mind, you can kind of look at things and go, wow, I didn't know that. And so I learn something every time I go through the scriptures. And so it's a continual learning process. And so the Bible is very much alive. And so, but you guys take care. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.